Well, hi everybody. Welcome to Photography TNT, your weekly tips and tricks show. My name is Matt Klaskowski, and I'm kind of solo this week. Not totally solo. A lot of the guys are traveling this week, but I do have a special guest in the studio here. His name is Brian Matiash. He's from On One Software. He's going to kick things off with a tip on bracketing your photos with a Canon. He'll kind of talk a little bit. You know, Nikon has it a little bit easier, but he's got some tips for you with a Canon camera. Brian, what do you got, man?
Thanks, Matt. So yeah, this is more for the Canon shooter out there, because a lot of the Nikon cameras, you actually get already 7 or 9 brackets that you can do in camera, and that's really important when you want to get the full tonal range of the scene. You know, you've seen those videos where RC is talking about the importance of stair-stepping those brackets. Canon, for the longest time, really only limited you to 3 brackets. So that's what I'm going to be talking about here, are those Canon cameras that only limit you to 3 brackets in one sequence. If you're a 5D Mark III user or a 1DX user, you're fine. You can do 7 brackets. That's usually sufficient. So I'm going to pretend, even though this is a Canon 5D Mark III, I'm going to pretend like it's a 5D Mark II or a 60D, and we're going to talk about the custom functions on your camera. You'll know you have custom functions if you look at the main mode dial and you see these little C1, C2, C3 modes. Think of those as snapshots of the entire setting of your camera. It will remember your aperture, your ISO, what modes you're in. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through the menu system here, and I'm going to scroll over. I have right here as one of my kind of stars, one of my favorites is the actual bracket setting, the exposure compensation. And I'm going to go in here. Now we're going to simulate it as if you had only 3 exposures. So this is what I used to do when I was shooting with my 5D Mark II. My first custom function, I would set it so that you were first 2 stops apart, and I would move the mid-range to -2. So you see here that we've got a 0 exposure, a -2, and a -4. That would set to custom function 1. Now, we still have 2 more settings. For custom function 2, I'm going to move this over to the other side, to +2. So now we have 0, +2, and +4. That would go to custom function 2. The third and final custom function would basically be the mid-range exposure at your 0 stop, but I would bring the 2 other exposures to -1 and +1. So now you're effectively getting -4, -2, -1, 0, +1, +2, and +4. The combination of those exposures should give you more than enough tonal range to get a good tone mapped image. And the great thing is, as you know, when you're shooting brackets, you want to minimize what you do with the camera. So all I need to do here is just switch from C1, C2, C3, and those settings get snapped into place. So for the Canon shooters out there, now you get the best of both worlds. You get a really awesome camera with, you know, a good sensor, but you can take the brackets you need to get a good HDR shot.
Awesome tip, man, and I think that's important, because even though sometimes we don't see what the computer's doing when it's using all those different exposures that go inside of there, but it actually is using ones that you think, you know, maybe it just doesn't need. So very cool stuff. Hey guys, we're going to take a very quick break. When we come back from that break, I have a tip for you on using live view in your camera that in some ways I think you might not have initially thought of. And then even though RC's not here, he was kind enough to leave a tip for us. We'll see all that right after the break.
Have you ever wished that you could have direct access to the world's top pro photographers, Photoshop experts, and creative minds? With KelbyTraining.com, that wish is only a few clicks away.
Hi, Adam. Dude, I think you are really going to love this class I have for you today.
Our training style is very casual. It's like having your own personal instructor teaching you today's most sought-after techniques, step by step, from start to finish, whether it's on location or in studio. It's easy and conversational, unlimited, 24-hour-a-day access to hundreds of exclusive classes from the world's top pros. A subscription to KelbyTraining.com is a must-have for photographers, graphic designers, anyone that's serious about taking their creative skills to the next level.
Hey, if you ever need any help, just come back online at KelbyTraining.com. I'm just one click away. Take care.
Subscribe today. Visit KelbyTraining.com for more information.
Hey everybody, welcome back to Photography TNT. Matt Klaskowski in the studio with Brian Matiash. Now, before the break, I told you I have a tip for you on using live view inside of your camera here. So here's the deal. A lot of your cameras and almost every DSLR shoots video these days. As part of shooting video, there's a feature called live view. Well, even if you're not shooting video, live view has become, I shoot a lot of landscape and outdoor photography. Live view has become an essential part of how I shoot now because it lets me do things that I couldn't do before. So for example here, let's take a look on the back of the camera. And I'm going to turn live view on this camera. This is a D7000, okay? So I'm going to turn live view on. You could do things, before I used to show a trick where you could go and you could change the white balance. You'll see in the top right corner up there, it says pre, where I'm just changing different white balances here. Oh, there's Brian back there. Wave, Brian. So we're going through here and you'll just barely start to see, that it changes some of the color for white balance. So that's kind of cool. I mean, you can see the different white balances right inside of live view, but here's how I use it, okay? Two things. One, I like to get down low. All right, a lot of times I like to get my camera down low, especially if I'm shooting outside. I want to get my tripod down low, and here's what happens. You're crawling down onto the ground and you're trying to see through. And let me tell you this, if you wear glasses, it's even harder because your glasses are getting caught up on things. It's a really difficult situation if you want to get a low perspective on something and still actually see what you're shooting. Turn live view on. Now you can turn live view on and you can adjust your tripod head and you can get the shot you want. The other thing it's useful for is focusing. All right, a lot of times, you get that little focus point on something and you're not quite sure, if you're locked in on focus exactly where you want to be. Turn on live view, you can actually, it's live. So here, let's do this. I got live view on and you can see, all right, I'm going to zoom in. I'll zoom in right on that bookcase back there. All right, and then I can start to adjust focus so that I have exactly what I want to be in focus there. So that's another benefit of it. Another huge benefit of live view is if you like long exposures. That means generally you like to put like a 3-stop, or they even have these 10-stop neutral density filters that you put over your camera. It's impossible to focus when you have something that dark in front of your lens. Turn on live view and most of the time you'll be able to get a good focus spot right there. Okay, so that is your tips on live view. Use it, get accustomed with it. It can really become an integral part of your shooting if you let it be. It's very, very useful. Now, RC's not here, but he's got a little tip for us. Let's go check it out.
Okay, welcome back to Photo TNT. And now we've got a great tip from RC about image order.
Yeah, it's one of those things that a lot of the times people don't think about when they're working with brackets and imaging, and it really does make a difference as to which one you choose for which scenario. Let me show you what I'm talking about. Last week I talked about setting up a bracket. That's a series of pictures. You tell the camera, all right, well, when you're going to take this shot, I want you to take 3 shots or 5 shots or 7 shots. And you can specify whether or not it's, underexposed shots, metered shots, and overshots. However, the first shot that you take out of that series, you can decide which one do you want to be first. Well, you would think that that wouldn't be something that would be necessarily a very important thing, but if you're doing something like HDR photography and you bring up those images inside of Lightroom, it's a mess. You don't know which belongs to what. So what I usually tell people is if you go into your menu, under the bracketing and flash section, you can go over to your bracketing order. Now Canon has this, Nikon has this, Sony has this, so this is where it is on the Nikon, but Canon and Sony is going to be exactly the same way. Any other camera is going to have an order for this. Right off the bat, you'll see that by default it's set to take the metered picture first, then it takes the under picture, then it takes the over picture. Well, if you're doing HDR, it's a pain in the butt to be able to see all of that stuff the way that it is. So what I tell people is set yourself up for under, meter, over. That way, when you import the images, you see dark, bright, 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 bright. The next dark image that you see is the next image in the series. That's all well and good. You would think that that would be the default, right? But why would you have it defaulted to meter, under, over? Well, not all the time are you out there shooting HDR. So imagine if all of a sudden you have a person jumping over a puddle. And the exact moment, that that person jumps is the moment that you want to fire. Well, do you want that moment to be the one that's 3 stops under, 2 stops under, one stop under. So what you want to do is you want to use bracketing in those instances to kind of hedge your bets, but you don't want to do it at the expense of the moment. So by setting yourself up with metered first, you take a picture and it automatically shoots right at that moment, right at the moment that the person is jumping, and then all of the other stuff, it does the underexposed and it does the overexposed shots. So when you're out, you have to get the moment. Make sure that you set yourself for metered, under, over. If you're out doing something like HDR, under, meter, over. That's going to get you very, very far in the work that you're doing.
That's pretty cool. Thank you so much, RC.
Thanks.
Hey, we're going to take a quick break, but we want you to come back and join us for more photography tips and tricks.
All right, everybody, so before we wrap up, I want to leave you with one extra little tip on tacked on to my live view tip, and that is make sure you have an extra battery. Okay, because you're going to start, when you turn on live view, you're going to start eating up your battery a lot faster. So make sure you keep an extra battery with you, because you still want to be able to use live view and you don't want to kill your battery the whole time. All right, so a couple things to finish up the show. First off, we have a contest. We have a prize. In fact, Brian Matiash was nice enough, he's giving us a version Suite 7 from On1 Software. So the entire suite. And that's like
right.
300 bucks or so?
Yeah, $299.
So the entire suite, the way to enter is you're going to go over to kelbytv.com/contest and just pick the show from the little drop down there, put in your name, and we'll take care of everything else. So you can win Suite 7 from On1 Software, brand new. So in fact, it'll probably be shipping
end of October.
End of October.
Yep, you'll get the license right away, and as soon as it ships, you download it and use your license to register.
Cool deal. And I wanted to leave you just with a little bit of inspiration, a photographer to check out. His name is Dean Bradshaw. So Dean is somebody that I got turned on to probably about a year ago, and just amazing work. In fact, if you look at the, if you're looking at the screen now, it's the second one on the top left, or second from the left on the top with the hikers. If you click on that, there's actually a campaign he did. He's got a behind the scenes video so you can see some of the photo shoots, because a lot of it is composited too, but just to see the photography and what was going on behind the scenes in that is really, really cool to watch. So the further down you scroll, you'll get to the video there. So pretty cool to watch, and just amazing photography. So make sure you check out Dean's work. Folks, that's it for this week. Thanks for stopping by Photo TNT. Thank you to Brian Matiash for being my in-studio guest here, because I was all alone. And guys, we will see you again next week. Take care.